top 10 features that we want from Sonos right now. Okay, soon. Sometime in the future. Maybe. Please? I have been living with Sonos for many years. They have released a couple of new products recently, from the refreshed Sub Gen 3 and the Sonos 5 to the all-new Sonos Arc with Atmos support. Now, I have reported issues with the Arc concerning both Atmos support as well as bass issues. If you want to see the videos, they are linked right here. But I'll still like to maintain my point that the Arc is likely to bring you a lot of joy. And for the majority of buyers, I would say this works perfectly fine without you noticing any of the problems. I point out issues only for journalistic value and to be responsibly detailed in my reviews. Sonos is a great company and they do stand by their products. But while they support their products for very long and generally put out solid stuff, they're quite slow in releasing new features. Even the S2 app high-res capability was so incrementally small that it almost felt like a skin change to mustard yellow, and that was it. The S2 platform was such a golden opportunity to introduce new features, but no, they missed it. Today, I'd like to list down the top 10 feature requests that I want from Sonos. Let's see if you agree with me. If you want to be kept informed of Sonos developments in terms of features recommended here, do consider subscribing to my channel, and if any of these features do get implemented, you will be sure to hear from me in a timely video drop. Much faster than you can click that subscribe button. Try it. Over the years, there have been multiple feature requests on Sonos forum and Reddit, which users are requesting for, but they either get buried very quickly or they lose traction over time. Let's keep the likes on this video coming and leave all your comments and further suggestions for features here in the comment section below, and hope it catches Sonos' attention. Now, talking about getting their attention and support, there's a piece of sad news. There's been a layoff at Sonos. I was mighty impressed that Sonos still managed to put out a couple of new products during this pandemic. But what it feels like now is that Sonos has decided to drop their staff after they slogged through to deliver the products despite the pandemic. This doesn't feel good at all. The Chinese, they have a saying, 过河拆桥, which means to destroy the bridge after you cross the river. The workers have helped Sonos deliver on their new products, only to lose their job after helping them achieve it. Anyway, a very special shout out to Ryan on the Sonos forum. I know you are no longer representing Sonos to help out in the community, but here's a big thank you for your continual engagement and always listening to us on the forum and keeping us updated. You will be missed. Okay, back to the list. I'll run through the list of feature requests from what I think is the easiest to implement to probably what is most difficult and hardest to materialize. You may have a different order or you might not agree with my ranking, but that's okay. We all have different use cases and requirements. I'm listing them down here in the table of contents, and I'll put it in the video description below so you can click through very quickly. You can also refer to individual requests easily if you want to share this with your friends. And I'll go through this list as a request addressed to Sonos. Rally behind this request, and thank you all. Following the Sonos Arc, Sonos has officially moved into Atmos home theater territory. Atmos was introduced about 5 years ago. Sonos never really competed in the numbers game to get to like 13.2 channel setup. All along, it has been squarely operating and competing within the 5.1 territory. I was playing with 5.1 since Laserdiscs were around, and there Sonos is still stuck at 5.1 before June of 2020. But with the Sonos Arc, things have changed. One thing that the Sonos Arc does is to throw Atmos surround sound up towards the ceiling and bounce it off to give you Atmos 3-dimensional effects. What it doesn't do is to allow for these sounds to be played back through any other speakers other than those two that are built into the Arc on top of it. I want to be able to set up Atmos channels with my other speakers like the Play 1, the 1s, the Play 3s, the Play 5s even. In fact, I want to go as far as setting up the top channel sounds to come out through the Sonos M, which I have here, with my ceiling speakers. That will truly give me the heights channels without having to rely on the two built-in channels on the Arc itself. Now, this can't be very hard to implement. They've already done that for the surround sound channel on the Arc. On its own, the Arc channels the surround sound to the side woofers at the long end of the soundbar. Now, once you pair the surround sound speakers to the Sonos Arc for full surround sound, those surround channel sounds get redirected to the surround speakers. So it's the same principle, right? Redirect the sound to another pair of speakers. Same for the Atmos height effects. Redirect them to another set of speakers that we have. We like the Sonos Arc. As you can tell from my channel and my viewers' comments, we really love it. So here's another request to enhance the experience on the Sonos Arc. Allow us to tweak the heights channel effects. Sometimes we want it louder because we want the effects amplified, or maybe we have higher ceiling, which means we need louder Atmos sounds so that they don't get too soft by the time it gets reflected and bounced off the ceiling to reach our ears. Again, not difficult to implement. Just like how you can tweak the surround channel sounds, the same should be offered for the heights channel. This would have been a beautiful extension to the feature request number 10 up there. On the now playing screen, you have some real estate space to show formats that are being played through the Sonos Arc right now. Now we want to know if it is in 2.0 or 5.1 or even the bit rate or maybe the sampling rate for two-channel music. Just a bit more. No need for IP address, connection speed. We just don't want to have to go into about system all the time. Sonos Arc or any Sonos products for that matter, they have no visual indicators on the format that is being played back. So let us see the format that is played on the most viewed screen, which is the now playing screen. You've already put the Atmos logo there, remember? So it can't be that hard. And here's why you should really do it. Sonos users aren't clear that they are only getting stereo sound. And they will live with that because they didn't think that what they are hearing is incorrect. But if they had some visual indicators that tell them that they are not getting surround sound but only stereo, then it will prompt them to do something about it. When the sound gets from stereo to Dolby Digital 5.1, the sound quality improves manifold. And Sonos, you don't really want your customers to spend that kind of money and live with substandard sounds, do you? And your customers will have visitors to their homes, you know. You want their visitors to think that that crappy 2.0 sound is playing on your products. Please make room groups more meaningful. When you first teased us about the Sonos S2 platform, you kept talking about room groups. I had thought it was some game changer, it was going to be some real redesign around it, but no, you simply allowed for groups of rooms. And you try to sell it off as a compelling reason to move to the Sonos S2 platform. That's just lazy. Let me give you a use case. For example, we have two Sonos 5, which is being grouped in a 5.1 surround setup. But occasionally, we do want to listen to just music from the Sonos 5s. The 5s as surround speakers are pure waste of their talent. Surround sound don't get much space and they're just responsible for creating soundstage and environmental cues from the movie soundtrack. But the Sonos 5 is a bass monster and it represents one of the best wireless options for true high fidelity sound for music. So if there was a quick way for me to disband and ungroup them in and out of the 5.1 configuration and the 2.0 configuration, it would have been a killer feature. The convenience is going to change the game. I'm resisting getting a pair of new 5s now simply because of this. I want them to be used as surround channel speakers, but I also want them to function as stereo playback speakers. But there's no easy way to do this except to remove the surround pair from the surround room configuration and then bending them together again. And in this process of bending and disbanding, you will lose Trueplay for both the setups. Now, also think about the sub. If the sub could be simply grouped and regrouped, it would have been great. I have so many Sonos speakers at home, but not enough subs to share between them. Sometimes I feel like it and I want to pair them with another pair of Sonos. If only there was an easy way for me to ungroup them and regroup them into real room groups. Don't give the excuse of Trueplay tuning being fixed to a room. Trueplay settings can be saved and multiple profiles kept. There's no need to have only one set of Trueplay tuning and having to redo it all the time. The concept is outdated and it makes for a crappy, inflexible arrangement of equipment around the house. Which brings us to the Trueplay configurations. Allow us to save different Trueplay profiles. Sometimes when we move the sub or the speakers, we want to be able to call out specific Trueplay profiles. We don't want to have to keep doing Trueplay all the time, every single time we move the speakers. I find that the Sonos one is portable enough to sometimes move to the dining room, sometimes move to the balcony, depending on where the guests are. But it ends up that Trueplay is only safe for one location. And unless you want to keep doing Trueplay all the time, you're going to have to live with untuned speakers every time you move it from its tuned location. And who's going to hear this? That's right, our visitors. Even if we wanted to be diligent and perform Trueplay all the time, sometimes we may not have access to an iOS device. And that sucks because we cannot save Trueplay profiles and then we have to keep borrowing an iOS device all the time. Please let us save Trueplay tuning on the S2 controller app. Save it in the cloud so that we can access it anywhere, anytime. Now, even if we were to buy a new replacement for an existing piece of Sonos equipment, we don't have to redo the Trueplay tunings all over again, right? We can simply call up the profile from the cloud. Which again brings us to another point related to Trueplay. For goodness sake, give us Trueplay on Android devices. Yes, I know there are many different mic implementations across thousands of models in the Android world. But seriously, even if you're not tuning for frequency, you can allow Android controller app to tune for reflections and reverb, right? That's still better than not having it at all. Anyway, you can also broadcast a frequency sweep from a Sonos speaker and then listen out using whatever phone and mic combination there, baseline that response with the profile that you have. Everything can then move relative to that difference. It is not that hard. I could give you an idea of how you can implement this if you're stuck. Let me know. And while you're at that, allow for Trueplay on the Sonos M2. Trueplay is not available to users of the Sonos M unless it's paired with Sonos architectural or outdoor speakers. The rationale is that they don't know the profile of third-party speakers, but I say let it measure bounce and reflection and echo and then allow Trueplay to be tweaked by the users. What your engineers think is the best for them doesn't mean it's the best for us. Sonos architectural speakers aren't for everyone. They're expensive, doesn't mean that we'll like the sound. We want to experiment and we want the flexibility and choice of speakers. And we love Trueplay's simplicity. Give it to us. Let us punch in some parameters like frequency response, sensitivity of speakers, as well as the resistance rating of the choice of speakers that we have. And then you can use those as estimates or baselines. Sound profile are going to be a little bit different, but it's a good proxy. Give us something that we can live with rather than decide for us that we don't need it. Let us pair the Sonos sub. Let us use two Sonos sub in a pair. The Sonos sub is one of the most capable subs I've come across at this price point and in this form factor. I've done an in-depth review of the Sonos sub and declared that two horizontally opposed elliptical cones inside handily delivers the bass anyone would want. But being a ported design, the Sonos sub is easily localized and the bass isn't as evenly distributed throughout the whole room. With two subs in two corners of the listening area, the bass response can be evened out very easily, giving a much smoother response throughout the entire listening area. And Sonos, don't you want to double your sub sales? And while you're at it, please let us also control the crossover point to the sub. This allows for the fine-tuning of the frequencies that is being sent to the sub. And for those of us who likes a little bit more mid-bass, you can cross it over slightly higher. And if we want a more subtle bass line, we can then cross it over a little bit lower. And if you aren't going to implement dual sub setup as I've requested for above, I want to be able to set the crossover lower so I don't get uneven response throughout the whole listening area, because right now it's easily localized and that doesn't blend well into the whole listening area. I'm sure you have set it to be as ideal as possible for as wide an audience as possible, but let us control it. We promise that we know what we're doing, all right? Yes, we know what we're doing. 48 kilohertz is not high res. Where do you get the idea from? When S2 was dropped on us, we were thinking that you meant high res as in like at least 96 kilohertz. Come on, 48 kilohertz isn't really high res. Now, even if your speakers are not going to support it, or your networking capabilities of the speakers are not going to be able to support the bandwidth requirements of high res, then at least downsample it in the app and allow the S2 controller app to stream it across to the speakers. Sometimes we just want the convenience and not necessarily the ability to play through high res. We don't want to have to maintain two versions of the same files just to play back on two systems. Honestly, I don't think I can tell much of a difference between 48 kHz and 96 kHz sampling rate on any of the current Sonos product lineup. So it is not about resolving this for higher quality sound, it is really more for the convenience. This is my number one suggestion. Sonos started off with music, with 2-channel music, and then they went on to the play bar 7 years ago. They went into home theater, 5.1 surround sound. And I mentioned above that Sonos has been operating in 5.1 for a very long time. But with the Sonos Arc, 7.1 became a reality for us Sonos fans. By the way, do you know that you can go up to like 13.2 channels now in the mainstream market? But here you are at 7.1. Well, it's a step in the right direction, so good for us all. Now, this last suggestion is a new product line suggestion. It is like a Sonos Pod or the amp, but one purpose built for home theater setups. Let's call it Sonos Immerse. Immerse because it allows you to immerse yourself in surround sound. This is not going to be easy, but it is a serious product. This will help you push so many speakers, and this unit will sell well too. You want to get into the home theater, this is what you should be doing. Create a new product category, like the Sonos Pod, like the Sonos Amp, where users bring their own speakers and source, but this time for AV. Well, not so much like the Amp, we just want a pre-processor, not the Amp itself. Imagine this. This is an AV receiver equivalent. And to output the sound, you can choose any number of Sonos speakers and place them around the listening area to output sound from a surround soundtrack, which is being handled by this product, the AV Center, Sonos Immerse. We can have the play files for the left, center, and right channels, play ones and the ones for the surround. The Sonos Amp could be driving ceiling speakers for the heights channels, and add a Sonos sub for the bass. In fact, add 2 Sonos sub, or even allow the output to a third-party sub. Now you tell me, is that not cool? Better yet, release 3 versions of this product. The Immerse 5, entry level for 5.1 channel setup. Immerse 7, Atmos capable for basic Atmos setup. And then Immerse 9 for full Atmos setup. Now guys, let me know in the comment section below if I'm being delusional or if there is truly a market for such a product. Whew. I actually didn't think that this video was going to be this long. I just wanted to list down the things that I wanted from Sonos. But I guess there's quite a lot of features that we want to see from Sonos, right? I actually had to trim the list down because top 10 features we want from Sonos sounds a lot better than top 37 features we want from Sonos. I understand that Sonos wants to keep things simple for most of its users who wouldn't care about some of these features. But maybe some of these features can be released on an S2 Pro app. Keep the regular app simple, but up the game for those of us who are willing to try and play around. Let's share this video and see if it reaches the product development folks at Sonos. If you have enjoyed my dreamland trip, do leave a like for this video and I'll see you soon in my next video.